without further ado, though, Devo, have we seen the Cracker Barrel drama? I've always had trouble saying Cracker Barrel. It's like a hard thing to say. But have we seen it yet? I know you've seen it because we've talked about it pre-show, and we already had a first shot at this show today. So let's bring it up. The side by side of the Cracker Barrel show or Cracker Barrel logo, and I believe the word you used, TiVo, this morning, which I liked, was bland. It doesn't. It seems to have taken away a lot of the character from the logo. Now, I, for one, as you can see the logo behind me, I am not like at least yet. I may eventually be, I guess, right? As if I continue on in the business world. But as of yet, like the logo to me is meaningful, but not like super meaningful, right? A lot of people would disagree with that in the business world. You want people to know immediately what you do by looking at your logo. Oftentimes, you can't tell that from my thing. You probably think I'm in finance or something. But Cracker Barrel had like a lot of like heart in the original logo. I mean, TiVo, knee jerk reactions. But what's your take on the Switch?
Yeah, not a fan just because I think the like Cracker Barrel is a very like nostalgic thing, and so if you're doing a redesign of the Cracker Barrel logo, I think you want to pull from the original character there, and you can recreate it, I guess, but to just completely take him away, I think is part because everybody, Cracker Barrel, you see it. You're on a road trip and you're driving down the highway and you see the sign like, hey, coming up in a couple miles is the gas stations and McDonald's and Burger King, and you're just like, man, I don't want fast food. And then you just see the next sign and you see Cracker Barrel and you see your friendly friend sitting there in this chair
Mm-hmm.
over the barrel, and you're just like, man, I can get some awesome flapjacks, some bacon, and I could peruse the country store.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an exciting feeling, it's a homey feeling, it's a childhood feeling. And kind of how I laid it out here to toss it back to you was, I don't know if people realize that Cracker Barrel is a publicly traded company. So Cracker Barrel's on the stock exchange, because it's been such an amazing brand and company over the years. But then that means you have a CEO, and then that means you have a design team, that means you have a marketing team. And my thought was like, we're gonna redesign, and first of all, these people that work at these companies high up, I think as a small business person, and I know as somebody who runs a small business, some of these big corporations, these people just do work that doesn't need to be done. They need to like pretend to be busy because they don't really do anything. So I can just totally picture like the Cracker Barrel logo team. I mean, how many people are on this team? You think it's probably like 50 people deep, 75 people deep, and you have a design lead, and you have a logo lead, you have a color lead, and all these people are like, oh, I studied logo design at Harvard Business, and I studied aesthetics at Berkeley. And those are, I'm sure there's tons of great stuff to learn in those schools and colleges, I'm sure. But like, there's something about Cracker Barrel that like you can't put in a textbook.
Mm.
And so you have all these people touching this Cracker Barrel logo and trying to make it sleek. And, the buzzwords are strategic modernization, feedback informed redesign, evolution, not erasure. And it's like, no, it's Cracker Barrel. Like, we all know what it is and we all love it. So like, that's my thought, is that it's kind of a corporate takeover of Cracker Barrel, and it's not needed.
No, well, for those folks out there that are stock traders, pre-market, it's down 1.9% on this news. And interestingly, though, I brought out the more expanded graph. I have not been following the stock of Cracker Barrel, but as of Tuesday, April 8th, it was down as low as $35.11 per share. It is now up to 59.02. So, although not terrific news currently, and it went as high as 66. Although not terrific news, I went year to date, TiVo, for the viewers. Yeah, although not terrific news, you see they have since April seemingly been doing some pretty good things. So although this CEO currently in the X sphere from the right leaning political supporters, seemingly that's what it seems to be overwhelmingly. Although she's taking quite some heat here because people believe it's politicized, she seemingly since April has done a ton of good for the company as far as it bouncing back from whatever was going on. Again, I have not followed the stock or the company, so I'm not entirely sure what's been going on. But I will say, I have to say one joke, TiVo, and I saw it on Twitter, and I thought it was hilarious that the Cracker Barrel team redesigned the logo and took out the cracker and the barrel, which I thought was amusing. But I'm you do know, like in the corporate world, like everything's intentional to a degree, right? I think things get missed though, like similar to the Sydney Sweeney jeans that we talked about, a couple weeks ago, TiVo. Like, at no part of me thinks that there was any, crazy, Nazism behind the American Eagle jeans, and also, actually, TiVo, this is a terrific live thing to take a look at. Can you bring up, is American Eagle publicly traded? I gotta imagine it is. Bring up that stock. Let's see how it's bouncing back now that it's out of the news. So let's see over the last month. So yeah, so where was it? I don't know exactly where the news kind of broke. But it seems as though it bounced back from something, right? So I got to imagine that people kind of came back. How long ago is that? I can't read. It's
That's
month.
A month, yeah.
So that's about a month ago that the jeans kind of came out. No, so it's been that range. So all to say that American Eagle is a good test case right now for Cracker Barrel as for the stock world, is that was significantly worse.
It came out July 23rd. It's like a 20% pop from Sydney Sweeney. That was we brought that up on the show. It's like, is Sydney Sweeney worth 20% in a stock pop? And embrace debate.
But yeah, so you see how bad the news was. Now, granted, they had people super for it and then some people super against it. So like there was that tug of war. So you're gonna have a lot of people that come out and support it. There's gonna be a lot of people that come out and hit the bad news, right? But again, it's just when it comes to the political world, or not political world, when it comes to corporate world, I don't know. It just do I think overall it's a big deal if they serve the same good food, right, that people love. If you walk through the store, right, and you gotta, you get that feeling of that homey feeling. If they have the rocking chairs out front, I mean, TiVo, are you not one of those kids like I was that just immediately played that game when you sat down?
Yeah. The
course.
game still have never won.
Oh,
never without cheating. I think one time as a kid, I was like, I just got to cheat so I could get it one time. Like I got to show my dad that I can do this.
And you didn't. You cheated.
Yeah,
you didn't show him anything.
No, I showed him. He's like, you cheated. I was like, yeah. How do you do it? And then just like the nostalgia of going into after you eat, you've been eyeing up this thing in the gift shop and you prepare your ask during the whole meal, and you're just like, you just can't wait and you want it so bad. And then your mom tells you no. And then, maybe one time you do get it. Maybe one time you do get a purchase in the Cracker Barrel gift shop and it means more. It means more.
Yeah. Here's the thing, they're doing a ton of new renovations to the stores as well. It looks like according to somebody on Twitter, so who knows how accurate this is, but according to what I'm reading here, it says they've done the logo. Obviously, they've remodeled 70 plus stores, pledged $700 million to do so. Now, obviously, this person had some political thoughts on this, so I'm not going to read their entire kind of what their view is of what they've been doing, but it seems like they're doing some type of like a remodel when it comes to Cracker Barrel. And I'm seeing some posts here, and I will say, TiVo, you might not want to go to Twitter live on X here on YouTube, just in case something pops up that's not supposed to. But I will say the redesign that I'm viewing currently, it's starting to feel a little McDonald'sy, a little fast foody. As far like the booths. I mean, granted, they're not showing booths in the old one, but the old like brown rickety chairs.
Yep.
Like yeah, like it seems like they've been replaced with ones that don't look so rickety, and then they have the booths that you probably see in like a fast food place. So I will say the new design I'm not in love with as far as you know keeping it in line with what we all view as Cracker Barrel and the brand. I also like, when you're like, again, this is my industry, so I'm not, I don't have any intention in rebranding anything that I've done, but I did rebrand two of my locations that I have currently. Now, both of those locations were plummeting in sales, so there was a good point to rebranding. Um, if you scroll, probably Steve-O, since you're showing it on live, if you scroll a little bit further, there was there right there, that one right there.
This?
The one below it. The one, yeah, yep. See,
There we go.
yeah, there's the difference. For the folks at home watching right now, and you can click on it. They do a good job of slides. Yeah, see, that's the way we all know it. And now this is what I'm saying feels a little bit more McDonald'sy, right? Doesn't the booths feel like you'd be sitting in a McDonald's?
Yeah, they're going for. I don't know. Have you ever heard of? It's called First Watch. Have you ever heard of that, Pat?
I have.
So that kind of feels. And First Watch is a great restaurant. I think they crush it too. They started expanding. I know they just opened up one near University of Delaware where I grew up, and I was just like, oh, First Watch made it here. Like very same thing. You go in, any time of day, they have a good lunch, they have a great breakfast and all that stuff, but it's more modern, whereas and it has that, but it that's what it is. Whereas like Cracker Barrel's supposed to be this.
Yeah, I mean that's what you feel. It's got like the southern charm to it, right? Like you almost feel like you're sitting in your southern grandma's home,
Right.
And it almost smells like your southern grandma's home because of the gift shop has all the candles in it. Like there's like here's actually a great point, TiVo, that we're making unbeknownst to ourselves. We are not frequent Cracker Barrel people, although we've gone to it over the years, right? It's not like we're seeking it out all the time. We know exactly what Cracker Barrel is. Like we're explaining it because of how well they've done over the years, making us know exactly what Cracker Barrel is, right? It's that homey feel. It's that Southern grandma feel. It's the walk through the gift shop immediately with all the candles and all that, like that. You know exactly what that smell is. Like, the chairs outside, like they've done such a good job branding themselves that even people that I haven't been to a Cracker Barrel in years, but even those people and the people that, go all the time, know exactly what Cracker Barrel is, which is the whole point of branding, right? So what I don't understand, release the files. Oh man, what I don't understand is why they did it. I don't get.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I don't get why they would do it. Let's walk through this with this person, because this person I think is saying everything is great, definitely paid for. But like that doesn't feel that bad to me. Like that feels nice.
Elevated clothing.
I don't want elevated clothing there. It's not supposed to be for that. It's supposed to be for Yankee Candles.
Oh, is that some jelly beans, some candles, some honey, some sauces?
Okay, so it seems. And then here's the dining room. I mean, it doesn't feel that different. I don't want to overreact here.
I love this caption. It was an updated, more modern, old time feel. That's great. Good. That's great.
Yes, modern, old time. That makes tons of sense. But I will say that video, to be fair to Cracker Barrel, didn't feel that bad to me.
Didn't feel egregious. Can we zoom in here? I'm trying to look at the prices. Old Timers breakfast 11, everything. Grandpa's 13. That's not awful. Price wise.
Yeah. Twitter is such an interesting world, man. I'm reading some of these tweets. I mean, you guys are just you're not, the
Do we want to listen? I think I got a clip here of the CEO.
yeah. Let's listen to the clip. Let's listen to what she's saying. 'Cause it's
all right. I got to ask this question. I
go.
think I probably know the answer. What if all the customers are coming at you hard enough about the look of the restaurant when they want to go back to the old way? Would you do it?
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Masino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you again.
Answering those questions for all the Cracker Barrel.
Huh. Well, that wasn't too in depth.
No, it wasn't a terrific soundbite. Although I know why she would say that ahead of time, because she wants it to be a soundbite. Yeah, I mean, listen, from I assume is Cracker Barrels, I would imagine based off what she just said, Cracker Barrels are franchised.
Well, Coach Doug's old friend of TiVo here. Coach Doug's tweet me.
So I was on the internet. Dude said he ate in a remodeled Cracker Barrel and he hated it. And I want to join in on the hate. If the Cracker Barrel don't look like the Jim Crow South, I can't eat there. Even in the air.
I love that.
So I was on the internet. Dude said he ate in
randomly popped up at a remodeled Cracker Barrel. I hate it.
So Cracker Barrel, just so we're clear, because I just said something live here that is not true. Cracker Barrels are not franchised. They're all company owned. And so I think she probably was just talking about managers on site and stuff like that, as far as team members that want a remodel. But I mean, I can understand wanting a remodel. I'm sure that some of these have not been remodeled in ages. And for what I know, as far as we're trying to remodel one of our places right now. We're not changing the aesthetic like Cracker Barrel did, but a lot of it has to do with just function and the logistics behind being in a restaurant and how you can better accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. For example, the waiting room, our cocktail lounge here in Hoboken, New Jersey, the front bar looks nice, looks fine, right? But it's not logistically. It's a nightmare for our bartenders and our manager. So we're not going to remodel that because we just don't have really a capability to remodel that. We'd have to move the bar somewhere and make it a more open concept, probably the bar up against a wall type thing. Which again, it would be very costly and not something we want to do. But so I'm not sure. She's saying that that her team members want to be on the list for a remodel. First off, you can never trust what anybody says to the CEO. They're going to say whatever it is that that person is the most important person in the company. They're going to say whatever it is that this person wants to hear. So that's not a terrific source of info. With that being said, though, there could be a lot of reasons that a manager or a team member wants a remodel in the restaurant industry, or any industry for that matter, that has nothing to do with the fact that they don't, the aesthetic, right? They might hate the aesthetic, but they're willing to trade it off because what they've talked to from their other counterparts in the other stores, that the remodel's coming with X, Y, and Z, which they have desperately needed for however long, right? Maybe it's coming with a complete kitchen remodel to an upgrade. That alone is going to send any manager of a restaurant screaming for this remodel, because I'm sure the kitchens are old and they need that. They need new equipment. They need, it to be, depending on what you're serving as well. It's not always designed for every type of kitchen. So if you want to be serving straight burgers all the time, which Cracker Barrel doesn't do, you might need a different type of kitchen than what you need for something else. Maybe the stuff isn't situated the right way. So there's a whole slew of reasons in the restaurant industry why you would be screaming for a remodel as a team member or manager that might have nothing to do with the aesthetic. They may in fact hate the aesthetic, but because of, like I said, the remodel coming with X, Y, and Z, people are now, chomping at the bit to get this remodel because it's going to make operations better, which again, to Miss Messino's, point maybe behind the scenes is that we're taking the opportunity to do a lot of remodeling that's helping sales. It's going to ultimately help the company. In the meantime, we're also changing this little aesthetic thing here that, it seems like most people don't like, and so people are, I won't say most people don't like. There are people on Twitter that don't like it. I mean, right now, as of this morning, it had like 160,000 posts as far as trending is concerned. So that is, I will say, quite a bit of people talking about it. I don't know. I think ultimately this blows over though, Tebow, don't you? I don't think people are, as long as they serve food that's good. I mean, again,
yeah.
I will say though, again, to take this one step further here, since this is my industry, as a person who owns 6 different restaurants, I put most of my effort. I would say number 1 is good drinks and good food, right? But if you have the right team, you're probably going to pull it off. It's probably, you don't need to put a ton of effort into that. But 1B is aesthetic, like how you make people feel. I've always told folks, as you know, Tebow, my staff, sometimes my customers are upset with pricing. Anytime, like my pricing is set because of a bunch of different other reasons, like fixed costs and all the stuff that comes along with it. It has nothing to do with, me being greedy. So that's not relevant. So I look at it as, why are you complaining about prices? And the reason you're complaining about prices in my world is because your experience at my bar does not justify that price. And that's a problem. So I put a lot of effort into aesthetic. Depending on the bar, Green Rock, Texas, late nights, right? That's a younger crowd that wants to have fun. So they want loud music, the darker room and all that. So that's not really a very difficult aesthetic to pull off, I must be honest. But at the waiting room, for example, you want that cozy feel. So you want a little bit dimmer lights. You want the exposed brick that we have. You want the decor. We put a lot of effort into these diffusers that make it smell specifically a certain smell, to make sure that people, feel that. And when they come in, like I was telling the story yesterday, that I was so excited during Christmas. I was standing at the host stand and these people came in, and the first thing somebody said in the group was, "Oh my God, I feel like I'm in a Christmas tree." And I was like, that is exactly what we're going for. And aesthetic plays a huge role in people's experience and whether or not they'll come back. And so I talk about how this will likely blow over, but the logo probably people will not care about soon, right? You have some of these people on X that are going to be like, "Oh my God, until they bring back the old logo, I'm not eating at Cracker Barrel." Okay, Cracker Barrel probably doesn't care if you don't eat there. A few people being that upset and overreacting to a logo, whatever. That's noise to Cracker Barrel. But when you change the aesthetic in there, if you change it to enough of a degree over time, if people aren't getting the same feeling they get in Cracker Barrel, you could start seeing sales deteriorate, because part of why they were going was that feeling. We, again, on this show, people who, when's the last time you were at a Cracker Barrel, Tebow?
Probably a couple years. A couple years, like back when we were touring, you eventually pop into a Cracker Barrel. It's like
exactly
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think I've been to one since baseball, which is my version of touring. So, it's been years for us since we've been there, and we can still explain to a T what Cracker Barrel is, how it made us feel, talking about the game on the table, the store and how you walk through it, the rocking chairs out front, the smell, to a T, we can still explain exactly how it made us feel and, everything that went inside a Cracker Barrel. And, to that point, that means they did a terrific job, right? In getting exactly what their brand is across to everybody. Again, we're not avid goers of Cracker Barrel, so perhaps we're not the target demo, and maybe the core audience that's going all the time, in their view, wanted more of a remodel. Perhaps that's right. I don't know. But, from a branding perspective, if you're talking about just getting your brand out there and getting people who don't interact with it all that much to know exactly who you are and what you do, They did a great job prior to this. So it will be from a restaurateur's mind. I'm curious if the remodel eventually starts to hurt sales and deteriorate sales. If it doesn't feel the same way, I'd have to go to Cracker Barrels, which would be a great YouTube thing. I'd have to go to Cracker Barrels with Tidbit TiVo and feel a remodel to know if it feels the same way to me, to really know. But all I'm saying for this show's sake is if it happens to not, I think you realistically could see a deterioration. Just because, again, it's part of when you're not, it bears repeating, but when you're in the restaurant game, when you're in any game, how you make somebody feel about your product is how you exist. That ultimately is what drives people to want your product. No matter what happens in life, that is ultimately why, flying private is an extreme example, but an example, it gets same point A to point B, right? Now and you'll see people on TikTok talk about how much time it saves you, and if you can make that much amount of time and that, blah blah blah. Okay, listen, I don't buy any of that anymore. Yes, it saves you time, it's a little bit less of a hassle, but I go to Newark Airport an hour before my flight. I can continue working the entire time leading up to the flight with my phone. It's not like I'm in an isolation box for 2.5 hours, whereas I can do no work because I'm on my way to the airport. I'm in the airport. It's just, to me, it's not a real reason to buy a plane. Yes, if you need a flip of a switch and you're in corporate America and you're a corporation, and in a flip of a switch, you need to be able to hop on a plane and fly to London or something like that. Okay. Maybe you can start justifying it with your whole team instead of having to find 40 different tickets or 30 tickets or 20 tickets. Maybe you can justify it. But ultimately, I think flying private is just cool. And it makes you feel cool. And so you're willing to spend 10x the price that you would be spending on a first class or coach ticket for a regular flight to do that. And it comes with a feeling. That's why you do it, because it makes you feel great. It makes you feel like you're successful. I always talk about how I get the most work done and I'm the most ambitious when I'm in a cabana in Miami, when I'm, out in Greece or something, or I'm on a private plane, and which are not it's not that's often, guys. I'm doing well, but I'm not like that. I'm not one of these people making, tens of millions of dollars. So but when I'm on there, it makes me feel like I'm one of those people. It makes me feel like I'm Mark Cuban, right? So now I'm all right, how do I do this more often? This is so cool. I want to be in cabanas in Miami and Mykonos more often. I want to be on private planes more often. How do I do that? And then you just start brainstorming. You talk about it, and you want to talk about it. You want to try to find ways to do more and make more money and stuff like that. So again, experience. All of that comes with the price tag of pushing the envelope and making you feel a certain way to allow you to justify whatever it is that you're charging for whatever experience it is that you're charging. So again, long roundabout way of saying, TiVo, but the aesthetic is more important to me than the logo, and has a larger ability to hurt the company long term than again the logo. The logo I don't think means a whole lot.
Well, friend of the show, Justin, shout out to Justin, feels that it's just a basic logo. Every company seems to be going that direction, just kind of dull, not unique. And he thinks that the rebrand is kind of just a business pivot, because in his mind, he felt like a lot of locations have been closing recently. So
really?
A way to kind of change it. Yeah, that's Justin's take. And honestly, I didn't think of it that way. so I was like, okay, well, let's zoom out on the stock price. It's a publicly traded company. Let's check it out. And so, yeah, if you do go to the 1 year, 39% a year looks good, but the 5 years minus 50%, and then you draw it out to the max, and that you could do some technical analysis there. You're going all the way down to basically the 2011 high. The 2011 high is 54 on the penny. It looks like we hit 54, 42. Oof. Yeah, that's a round trip and a half. Mm-hmm. So just an absolute explosive growth in 2018, 2017, 2019, COVID drop, it hits its back high. So since COVID, which, I mean, you could take a lot of things. Maybe people aren't traveling more on the road or whatever, but whatever's happened here is this explosive growth of the company here in 2019 did not carry over clearly to 25. So you could make the argument as a business. So if they're going to play our clip, Pat, and they're going to bring us into the boardroom, and they're just be like, listen, guys, like, we understand you like the old feel and the old this, but look, it's stopped. There's no growth. There's no growth in it. It's over. So that you could make the case that maybe, as much as they're going to piss off probably the old school fans of it, and specifically probably in parts of the country are going to take that more, heavy than others. Because, again, if you're on 95 and you're just passing through, Maryland, Virginia to Delaware to Philly, and you see a Cracker Barrel, like, you're just going to pull in and eat. It's still got that vibe. Whereas if it's your local Cracker Barrel in, I don't know, near Auburn University in Alabama, and you're a local and you've lived there your whole life, I'm not going to Cracker Barrel no more, type of deal. So I think if you look at, I think that's why this show is great, because we took it from all angles. Like, even me and you were just like, oh, you can't change the aesthetic, you can't change the feel. And from a company that, at the end of the day, if you are on the New York Stock Exchange, every year you need to forecast bigger growth and bigger earnings and grow and grow. And clearly this company in the last, you want to call it 8 years, 6, 7, 8 years, has fell on its face, and the stock price and the future earnings seem to be cut in half. So they have to change something up, in my mind.
Well,
in that sense, if you're the CEO, right?
Yeah, I appreciate Justin's take here, and it's put me down another rabbit hole. Let's talk a little bit more about Cracker Barrel and who it relies on, because I have these conversations with my staff and my team members, right, and talking about why I do certain things to give them an idea and like an insight into my brain, and then they always have the ability to counter me and say, "Hey, listen, we don't agree with that." I've been a big proponent that I've always said, if you can convince me that I'm wrong or that you have a more likelihood of being right, I'll change, right? I'll change my position. Interestingly enough, so I looked up how many businesses how many Cracker Barrels have closed over the last year or so. Yeah, the only thing I could find from Google's AI was that only 4 stores closed in 2024. This was like a report from April 2024, though. So I'm not entirely sure if there's been more. But it led me down a bigger rabbit hole here. Okay, so why would Cracker Barrel? Me and Tebow talk about how we only did it while we were traveling. Like, that's when we went. We talked about the feeling, Tebow was talking about driving down the highway and seeing that in a couple miles, a Cracker Barrel is coming up, and you stop buying, you'll stop for that store. So I did a little bit more Google AI, shout out Google's AI. And I said, how much does Cracker Barrel rely on people traveling down highways? And according to the AI, Cracker Barrel's business strategy is significantly reliant on travelers and highway traffic, with approximately 40% of their business coming from travelers. This reliance is a core component of their business model, stemming from founder Dan Evans' initial vision of providing a homey stopping place for those traveling long distances. So now you take it one step further, and you say, okay, listen, what I'm feeling in my restaurants, right? What I've said is the fact that I feel as though that my customer base, we're not a super high-end restaurant company, right? We're not going to the affluent, right? We're going to people from 21 to 45 who are doing okay. Like, they're not doing well, but they're not also like making millions of dollars a year. So, I feel as though sometimes I've talked about on the show that I feel like I'm pinching my customers, right? So, like, eventually insurance, rent, all this stuff goes up, and do I pass that off or do I eat it? Do I pass off some of it and eat some of it? Like, it's a difficult world. And can I increase volume so I don't have to worry about passing it off? Because the prices then, if the volume can go up alongside the prices, then I will do fine, right? So when we're looking at this, it's like, all right, is domestic travel down in the United States? In general. And according to this, In 2025, U.S. domestic travel has shown signs of cooling, with some indicators such as air travel and lodging booking down year over year, possibly due to economic uncertainty and declining consumer sentiment. So there is a chance. That perhaps they, and by they I mean Cracker Barrel, is too reliant on something outside of their control. And I've often talked about that with restaurants, is that for myself, it's a very difficult industry to be in because there's so much that my business relies upon that is out of my control. The two main things I've always talked about for my business has been weather and sports teams, local sports teams. So the Giants, if the Giants are good in football, I'm not in San Francisco, so I'm in New Jersey. So if the Giants are good, which they haven't been in a number of years, when they're good, business is so much better. Sunday Funday is a very big, portion of a few of my restaurants, and it's huge on food sales. Obviously, also big on liquor sales. And when September and October, it doesn't really affect our Sunday Funday sales because people are excited to be out regardless. But you start trickling into November and December, and if the Giants suck, people just stop coming out. It's starting getting cold. It's maybe rainy, possibly a little snow, right? People aren't trekking through bad weather to come watch the Giants in an environment that is like, boisterous and loud and all that stuff. If the Giants aren't good, if they're just going to get blown out again, or they're 1-12, nobody cares, so nobody comes. Weather, and I kind of mentioned in that piece as well. Weather, if it's raining on a Saturday night, less people come out. That's just life. It is what it is. Two things that I have zero control over, right? I have no ability to change either of those things. So I've always, and I'm sure every industry has its things that they're reliant upon that has nothing to do with no control within the company on. So that is something that I struggle with. Cracker Barrel being so reliant, almost 50% of their sales are coming from domestic travel, where people are driving down highways and going on long road trips. If domestic travel starts to decline because maybe consumer sentiment isn't great, maybe people are making less money and they're not willing to spend that, right? If that is all happening, now Cracker Barrel is just going to go down because there's less quote unquote foot traffic or driving traffic, however we want to call it. There's less of that. So when you see that much of reliance on something that you can't control, that as an investor, that would make me nervous. I want you to be able to control, as much of your income as you can possibly control. And again, you'll never control 100% probably. I bet you if we went into any industry right now as a fun exercise and picked a company, I bet you over conversation, we could figure out something that is not in their control in any way. And now they have to, now they have to adapt or somehow, a perfect example of that is politics. Even you talk these huge companies that have billions and billions and billions of dollars that they can pivot on the drop of a dime to do, if you right now for this current White House, if he thinks you're not, in lockstep with where he wants to go, whether you're with that or you're against that, it may not bode well for you. It may not, you may not go. A good example of that is Elon Musk. They were in lockstep and it seemed like things were progressing, and then they kind of became, feud buddies. And then all of a sudden it seemed like, Trump wasn't going to give, some EV credits and all this other stuff. So, something not in your control, right? Not entirely in your control, right? A lot of people were upset when they saw these like big CEOs, they, bending the knee, they always said. So you could argue in that respect, it is in your control. But again, we won't get into politics. But again, seeing a company that reliant upon something that they don't have control over, that's tough. That's a tough one to that's a tough pill to swallow, because again, when all of these things happen and people stop traveling, you could be in a bit of a predicament. And I'm not going to read this article, but the top article on this from May 16th of 2025, is from the New York Times. In the U.S., a summer travel slump looms. So, it seems as though, Cracker Barrel may be, getting kicked in the teeth a little bit. Well, not kicked in the teeth. They have been jumping since April, but perhaps that is part of the reason for slowing traffic the way Justin had described, and people in stores closing. It just may be people not traveling as much, and then therefore they can't afford to keep some of these stores open. But listen, time will tell, TiVo. Time will tell. Before we run out of time today, let's hop over onto our second topic of the day, which is dear friend of the show, Jake Paul. And what interested me most, I don't know. Are you? Let's do it this way. You're more of a fight guy. Do you know this guy that he's fighting in a little bit?
No, I don't. I'm not up to date on the new Jake Paul fight, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a gentleman by the name of Tank Davis.
No.
Are you familiar with Tank?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit about Tank here. Let's get into this fight.
Well, no, hold on. Maybe not.
Okay, it's on Netflix.
I'm thinking. Okay, no, I'm not familiar with Tank Davis.
Okay,
I'm thinking about the meme guy.
The meme guy?
Yeah. There's a meme guy named Tank. I don't know if it's Tank Davis. Meme guy Tank. It's like Good News with Tank. Sinatra. That's his name.
Oh, I've heard of Tank Sinatra. Yes.
Sinatra. My bad. All right.
Yes.
That's definitely not who we're talking about here.
Yeah. And now, okay. So let me take it one step further and kind of preface this conversation. Excuse me. With I don't care about this fight in any way. Like it's not one of the ones that like really got me going. With that being said, TiVo, if you could do me a favor and bring up Dave Portnoy's Stool Presidente's latest or tweet on Jake Paul. Just it happened 17 hours ago, so I'm sure it'll pop right up when you search it.
Okay, let's see. Yeah,
if you could bring it, Dave, whether you like him or hate him or what have you, the guy's good at what he does as far as the media game and driving attention for not only his company and his brand, but just in general for Barstool and such. And recently, 17 hours ago, to be specific, tweeted out about Jake Paul, and this is what got me kind of thinking about it and why I wanted to bring it up with TiVo here on the show and with you guys here on YouTube. Is Jake Paul continues to do the impossible. After every fight, people say they are done with his circus. Then he creates another circus matchup that is so stupid people can't ignore. Rinse, wash, repeat. One of the greatest marketers of all time. And it got me thinking. Now, we always talked about recently how Jake is obviously a good marketer. He's obviously good at what he does. I happen to quite like their reality show, the Pauls or whatever it's called. I enjoyed that. You see a different side of the two guys. It didn't necessarily make me not like them or like them more, right? It didn't really drive me in that direction. But I certainly like the show. I've enjoyed the show. It's fun to watch these guys. It's and I will take it one step further. It motivates you, the show, because you see like everything that they're doing, trying to grow, trying to push, and all that stuff, and you're like, yeah. They kind of know what they're doing, and it gets you like thinking about what you could do. With that being said, TiVo, and I'll kick it to you to start us off. Jake Paul, is he the greatest marketer living right now?
I mean, they're on Mount Rushmore for sure.
It's a big statement.
Yeah, they're on Mount Rush, active in the game, doing it. For sure. Cracker Barrel not up there for right now. But yeah, I think you have to throw at least the person that comes to mind when you say the number one marketer in the world right now. I think you got to throw Yellow Tux Jesse in there. Now again, will he end up on the Mount Rushmore? I think the Paul brothers have been doing it clearly much longer and at a higher level. So if you want to talk in the history books, I think Yellow Tux Jesse has a great chance to get there the way he's going. And he's up there with them to date. But yeah, these guys, the Paul brothers, have been doing it. And I don't even know. Do you want to talk? You could talk about them each individually. I feel like Jake has caught up, which I'm sure he's super proud of. And this is, one take which way or another. But like definitely Logan was the bigger YouTuber, and they were both huge. They're both massive, but like Logan definitely, I felt like was on top for a while in the YouTube game and the social media game. And then, you know, he went through his growing pains and he had one really bad video that he probably regrets, or definitely said he regrets. And, you know, at the end of the day, growing up in front of the camera is tough. It's not easy, but they've reinvented themselves so many times. Yeah, the boxing thing definitely started, especially for Logan, was, you know, marketing really only, just getting eyeballs and that Floyd Mayweather fight and whatnot. But I feel like Jake has definitely taken the reins here, and you know the fights have drawn well and done well. But this is, I think this is a real fight. So I just did some research in the sense of I kind of definitely the last fight or two or whatever. Like I didn't buy in. I mean, I know it does great and it gets huge clicks. But I think there was actually one in Tampa was his last one. But I was just like, oh, obviously I'll watch the clips and see what happens. But I wasn't super interested. So this guy, Tank Davis, 30 wins, 0 losses, 1 draw, 28 wins by knockout. Knockout percentage, 93%. Current WBA lightweight title. So again, not me and you have to disclaimer, not proclaimed boxing guys, but like that's what I'm like, okay, interesting. Jakes keeps going for the boxing thing. He did the documentary on the boxing. It seems like he's taking it very, very seriously. At this point, you can say he's really all in on it. So I think this is a real fight from not being a pro fight analysis, but this, you know, I think that's to Dave's point is like, oh shit, this is a real boxer he's going after. It's not somebody on the back end of his career. It's not, you know, a social media attempt to get clicks and all that stuff. This guy is a real professional and a current champion and has some absolute power.
Yeah, I mean, so what is ridiculous about this fight? What is the circus about this fight? Is the fact that Jake Paul is, as they would describe it, cruiserweight, or is fought in the heavyweight and is facing a lightweight? Is that what's ridiculous about this? Is somebody who doesn't
kind of looking what's the weight difference between them? Odds, weight.
So I'll read this while you're looking for that, TiVo. Jake Paul is effectively a cruiserweight, and Tank Davis is a lightweight. They are fighting an exhibition match with a huge size difference, where Paul weighed in around 200 pounds and Davis at his usual 135.
Okay, so that's...
This large weight disparity is the most notable aspect of their upcoming November 14th fight. Oh, wow, so we found it right there. Good for me. So, I mean, that is 65-pound difference in a fight. Now, we know, TiVo, from any you know, from the just watching online and you know, people who know how to fight, right? If you are it does not matter this, you know, how big you are. If you don't know how to fight, or in somebody who's smaller doesn't know how to fight, the smaller guy's probably going to beat the hell out of you. And so now Jake Paul clearly knows how to fight. He's not. I don't think anybody anymore can realistically say that this guy is not a boxer of some level, some caliber, right? He's not going to be. It's not like me going into the ring and I'm just, you know, I'm 230 pounds and you know, Tank is 100 pounds smaller, but he's probably going to kill me because I don't know how to fight. So he's some caliber of boxer, and so I think it will be interesting, kind of to see, you know, a little bit of the direction of where this goes with him and Tank Davis. But I guess that is the most circus thing, is that he's you know, fighting this man who is 65 pounds smaller than him, and this might be the you know they had Mike Tyson. They're like, this guy is, you know, pushing 70 years old. Why would you fight this elderly gentleman? Which created the circus, right? Mike Tyson's name plus him being, you know, old. That's a circus. You know, Tank Davis, at least to somebody who I follow, Jake Paul, I think he's a great marketer. I don't hate him like most people do, or that a lot of people do, I should say. So I followed his fights. So somebody who follows it a little bit and I have no idea who Tank Davis is, which means there's a lot more people out there who have no idea who Tank Davis is. So great for Tank Davis to kind of get more on the map. He's going to be a household name now for the next couple months. So smart move there. But as far as fighting Jake Paul, and much larger man, that is the circus, I guess, that's being generated around this. Is that this is everybody's going to be like, oh, Jake Paul, because now I'll take it this direction. Are we going to now, similar to what we did with Mike Tyson, are we now going to flip the script and say Jake Paul is a fighter, and he's picking a fight with somebody who's way smaller, and of course he's going to win? Is that going to be the script here on a real fighter, or are people still going to say he's going to lose? Because anytime he's fought anybody that people consider to be a real fighter, they are like, he's going to lose. He's going to lose. So will that script be flipped here in that he is a real fighter, and because of that, this is a ridiculous fight to pick? What do you think, TiVo?
I think that the show goes on. Basically, Dave, I think we were sniffing it out. Like, okay, he's got punching power, but what's the big deal? And then obviously the weight difference is what it is. The show goes on. I don't know. I think Jake's in an interesting spot where I think he's taking it very seriously from a training perspective, but also I think there's, and again, we don't know. We're not in his camp and taking fights and planning, but like, is he in his weight class? There might not be people that want to fight him at the top level, and he's a top level fighter, not necessarily because of his boxing background. I'm not going to comment on his skill because I can't really break down boxing. There's people that say he has great punching power, and he's actually like a pretty solid boxer with how much he's put into it. But I will say that if you're in your own class and you're somebody who's a professional boxer, you might not want to take the fight if you're on the upper level, but if you're trying to come up, you'll take the fight. So Jake, he's probably weighing like, okay, I need somebody who's going to try and sell tickets alongside me. So if you're staying at your regular weight and you're doing like a true professional fight at your weight class, you might be fighting like a nobody. And so there's a risk to that for Jake Paul being like, oh, the undefeated and all this, and trying to come up the ranks. So as much as it's kind of a new age of boxing and it's the traditionalists, it makes them roll over, right? It's, oh my God, I can't watch this. This is the weight class and this and that. But from Jake's perspective, he's doing kind of both, weighing both. It's like, okay, what's going to sell pay-per-view? What's going to stir the pot? And, compared to just fighting like some guy who's, 2-0 or 3-1 at his weight level that has no social media following and no track record. So it makes sense. The show goes on. It's Barnum and Bailey.
Yeah, listen, Ryan Garcia, he's a boxer and quite a large following. Recently tweeted that boxing is officially the WWE because, obviously this is pure entertainment. Which again, to my points in previous shows, everything is entertainment. If you the biggest thing you can sell in this world is attention. And so he is certainly doing that. I mean, again, Tank Davis wouldn't even been on my radar. A Tank Davis fight. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about this in any capacity, TiVo. But because it's Jake Paul, because he's good at what he does, because he's marketing the hell out of it, because he's like, well, this is a real fighter. He's much smaller than me. It seems as though the stats here are Jake Paul 6'1", Tank is 5'5". The weigh-in came in at 199.4 pounds for Jake Paul. Tank came in at 133.8, so a 66-pound difference. That's quite a large one. And wingspan, Jake Paul came in at 6'4", and Tank came in at 5'7". So, interesting, but again, like you said, the show goes on, right? I'm now interested. I hate to say it, but I am now interested in this, in this is going to be, the first, Bleacher Report talked about these stats, 6'1", 5'5", all that jazz. The first response is from DraftKings Sportsbook, and it's a picture of Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve, and saying this is the fight. So, there's going to be a lot of press around this. I think people are going to be interested to see how Tank kind of measures up. I mean, you got to imagine it's going to be very similar to a Floyd Mayweather fight, right? He's going to be quick, fast. He's gonna hit, and he's going to dodge and weave. You're gonna try to. Jake is going to have to land big punches, and Tank is going to have to avoid them. That's what's going to come down to. So, I mean, again, I can't believe it. I'm here talking about the strategy behind these two fighters in a fight that I didn't know existed until this morning. So, to tie a bow on this, Jake Paul, clearly one of the best marketers who has ever done it. I mean, he continues to do great things, continues to find ways to get people who ordinarily wouldn't be talking about boxing fights on their shows to talk about boxing fights. You have Netflix is supporting this, which we knew already, and it's going to be a huge fight. People are going to be showing it. I guarantee you it's happening in November. I guarantee you in the beginning of November, my team comes to me asking us to stream it, which I'm not sure. We have to figure out now. Not that you guys listening care about this, but I have to figure out commercially. Am I allowed to show this on Netflix commercially, or if I have to go buy it from somebody else? But anywho, interestingly enough, TiVo, Jake Paul does it again on a fight that I typically would not even cared about, and now I'm interested. It should be it should be an interesting fight. With that being said, TiVo, I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I appreciate any other comments, TiVo, that you want to bring up.
No.
From the gallery. Well, I appreciate everybody who tuned in live here every Thursday morning. We were a little bit late today, but typically 7:15 starts. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. It was another terrific show. We always have something that's interesting to talk about on your commute in. And for those folks listening Monday or Tuesday, don't be afraid. Thursday, 7:15, sharp-ish. We go live here on YouTube, so you can watch on your way to work or what have you, as long as you're not doing something that's important like driving. So, guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you.